Good evening, everyone. Hey, I'm John Arnold. Welcome to Protect and Serve. Listen, we are coming upon the end of summer. We are entering fall next Tuesday. We are going into a new season. This is the season that we see the children are going back to school, whether it be virtual. Some of the kids are going back to classes. But on tonight's show, we have a very informative show for you tonight. Very important show because some of you, like I was a couple of years ago, we were sending you're sending your child off to college, either for the first time or they're going back to college. And tonight, we understand if you were watching the news this week, you understand that there was some activity around the college down in at Rutgers, New Brunswick, that is quite concerning. You know, it's a big concern for parents sending their kids off. Our children, this is where they go and enter into adulthood, and this is one of the biggest steps of their life. They're going out there. They're going into new waters, as they say, and we can't be there to hold their hand. But there are some dangers that are lurking out there. And what you do want to do is make sure that you sit down with your child and talk to them about these dangers. We want to inform you tonight about these dangers. You might not even know about it yourself, but today we have a special guest who's going to talk with you about it, who was on campus for all of his career, who I know was a very good friend, a very good officer, retired now. And we have some stories that we want to share, some case studies, and we want to bring you up to date on what you can do to make sure that you make sure your child is in a safe environment. I know the first time when I dropped my baby girl off, man, I was just nervous. You know, I knew the area was pretty safe, but still there, you know, you just don't know. And one of the things that I had the privilege of doing was I knew a lot of people on the police force, including our cousin who worked at the campus, and she gave me situational awareness. When I say situational awareness, that's just up-to-date information about what's going on. And we're going to talk about that so that you know when you go to your college campus, you can ask the campus safety, public safety director or campus police certain informed questions so that you know how to direct your child, how you can keep in touch with your child, make sure your child is aware of the things that they should and shouldn't do on campus. You'd be surprised what goes on college campuses and what type of dangers our children face when we send them out to school. But that's enough for me. Listen, I want to get into the discussion. I think it's a very important discussion that we have now that in the age of COVID and the age of everything that's going on, protests and everything that's going on. I think it's a very important discussion that we need to have. So before we get started with our special guests, I want to bring in, the two people that I always say, they're the experts in their field. They know a lot about what's going on. They've worked it their whole life. Their whole career was dedicated to serving and protecting the public. I want to bring in my friend, my sister, Detective Stephanie Treadwell, retired from the Newark Police Department, and my brother and friend, Detective Anthony Cox, retired Essex County Prosecutor's Office Detective. Hey guys, how you doing? How's everything going?
We're good.
We're good. Listen, the weather changing, and we're starting to break out in sweaters. And when we were on the police department, we know that we were going into the fall and winter initiatives. We were rolling out our initiatives. How are we going to prepare to protect the people and serve the people during these cold weather? So tonight, I want to talk about campus security, college campus security, in light of the events that happened down at Rutgers, New Brunswick, where you had 9 individuals who were shot, 2 died, 7 were treated at the hospital, all because, and it was 4 gunmen. All right, and this was right around the campus. So when we send our children out, we don't know what they're going to be experiencing. We're not there. We don't have eyes there. We know how we were when we were in college and when we were kids. The mischief that we got into was by the grace of God that I'm still here, because it was just so much. It was so much stuff to get into, and it's fun. I mean, you're at college, you're doing things, and you don't know about the dangers. So kids have this type of spirit that they go out and they explore. They do things that you and I wouldn't do because experience has taught us to stay away from it. But they would go out and they would just do it like I did, not knowing the dangers lurking about. So we're gonna have a discussion today. We have a very informed guest. One is very knowledgeable. He has spent, I believe, all of his career. I mean, he'll tell us, but most of his career, if not all of his career, attached to that type of environment, providing campus police protection to young children and young college students while he was a police officer. So let's bring in our guest, Sergeant Darrell Yelverton, retired Rutgers PD.
Yes,
Sergeant,
sir. Hello.
friend. Oh my God, I think I'm gonna be sick.
Yeah.
me.
So I'm not surprised what
Build,
goes on in college
build
campuses.
the bridge and get over
It's
it.
definitely a little cold, and I definitely needed to put a jacket on because it was a little cold.
Especially on Mondays.
Yeah. Especially when
Yeah. Oh Lord, jeez, I'm glad the
Pittsburgh
show
fans.
comes on Wednesday.
Well, good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I'm honored that you would have me come in and share some tips. I always say if we can save one person, we're doing well.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of folks don't know. A lot of our viewers might not know that there's so many different aspects to policing. So many different departments that are entrusted and they're commissioned to do so many different things, all under the name of the banner of protecting and serving. And I started out with you at the department that you spent your career at, and you grew up there like I did, and you saw things. It was right in the heart of a big city, but a very big university, and folks just don't know that there is crime on universities. And now,
Yes,
our children are in that environment, and it's a tremendous job that, university police officers do when it comes to providing security for our most precious commodity, our children. I know they are the love of our lives. They are our heart's joy. It's unthinkable. And I feel sorry for the parents who have had something happen to their children while their child was away at college. That must be the most awful feeling in the world, to get a phone call to find out that something happened, whether it happened on the campus or it happened outside the campus, because a lot of stuff doesn't really happen on the campus. I mean, a lot happens on the campus, but a lot of stuff happens off the campus, and we want to get into that today, Sarge. So what I want you to do now, Sarge, is to take a few moments and just tell the viewers who you are, your experience, the fact that they all know you're a Giants fan, but
that's correct.
Besides that, we want them to know that, hey, listen, you've done some great work, and we want to know, not only at Rutgers, but throughout the state, you have been doing some great work. So why don't you just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sir. Well, again, thank you for having me. So yes, as a young police officer, I looked up to you as you were at the campus and then beginning to move on into other elements of law enforcement. So I started in 1987. Don't tell anybody else that. And I've served in all levels of policing, from the road cop to the shift supervisor to the manager. And towards the end of my career, the community policing officer, the one who really went out and engaged and listened, to the students and the faculty with regard to complaints. I was involved in mitigation activities as far as, looking into how to better patrol the campus, how to enact policies to keep, the students safe. So I was a police academy instructor. I hired police officers, screened them. So I tell you, I can't wait for the questions. It should be very interesting.
Yeah, you sound like you've been very busy.
Yeah, I've been out 3 years now. I did 30 years in 2 months. Put some respect on those 2 months. You know what I mean? Right. And I tell you, in the opening, you were talking about how dropping your baby off was like one of the craziest things you ever did, because the being scared. I'm kind of the same way. I have a couple of years before my daughter goes, but I should probably apologize in advance. I'll probably be one of those dads coming out of the ceiling, in the dorm room. But anyway, let's get into it.
Yeah, you work for Rutgers University, which we know is a state university. It's a big university. It has campuses in Newark, Piscataway, New Brunswick, and Camden, I believe, right?
Correct.
Right. So you're statewide, a statewide organization.
Sure. Assets all over the state, and they have many sites in a lot of they have many campuses in different places all along the state as well.
Yeah, because I know in Newark, Newark actually, there's some new buildings down there in Newark. But when I was in Newark as the deputy director, there was a grid that Rutgers patrolled. They assisted Newark police in patrolling the area, and that was the James Street area down there.
Oh yes, sir.
Yeah, and we had a couple of incidents down there. We had a couple of investigations. We had unfortunately we had a murder on Central Avenue, which was involving one of the students. So. So let's just run through it for maybe, let's say we have a mother and father who's getting ready to drop their child off either this year or in the very near future. All right. So I have my car packed up. I got my child and my baby in there. I'm going to drop them off. And once I drop them off, they're in this whole new world of little adults, because that's what it looked like when I drove down there. It was like little adults, little teenagers who were just in high school. And now they're little adults on the college campus. And depending on what campus they're on, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's a lot of stuff that you, unless you have a trained eye or you watch this show and you find out some of the things that are going on, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't believe it. So now I drop my baby off and I'm on home, and then I get a call. Is there, when a child comes on the campus, is there some type of public safety orientation that happens with the child?
Absolutely. So the parents get an orientation and the students get an orientation. So typically a college won't just send the parent home, just worrying, boy, I wonder what's going to happen next.
Right.
So there's orientations for parents, and because I actually did the orientations. And if anyone went to University of Medicine and Dentistry or Rutgers University between the years of 2005 and 2017, they probably saw me doing the orientation. So we give information to parents to try to drive in to their student. The student, like you said, it's a whole new world. I mean, it's like things are happening, and I'm free, and I'm out for the first time, and it's I have my own responsibilities. So as campus police, law enforcement, we know that, and we kind of make sure that we watch out for anybody that may be doing predatory behavior, and we inform the students what to look for. So they definitely get an orientation.
So campus police, the police that are on the campus, that's a 24/7, 365 type of deal, correct? Just like a regular police department. It's no distinction. I mean, you're by statute, you're police officers.
That is correct.
Yeah,
so,
the fact that Rutgers doesn't mean that you're anything less than a police officer, right?
That is correct. And that's a great point that you bring up. We have to dispel that. Think of a campus as a small city. Campus has, where I work, I think we were to the tune of, almost, 30, 40,000 students at any one time.
Right.
And then you add in the employees and the people visiting and stuff. Mm-hmm. So at any time, there could be 60, 70,000 people in and around, the various campuses at one time. Or, right. And we also did, Big Ten football, so on those days, the numbers also go up, crazy. So one of the first things I talk to the students about is just being aware. Be aware of your surroundings. The days of your head down, texting on the phone, not paying attention to what's going on around you, have to stop. Right. And, I tell them, because sometimes, when the in the younger person's world, sometimes a text message is everything. So if you got to take the text message because it's going to, move heaven and earth, at least stop and get your back to a wall for a minute, and or go into a crowded lobby or a populated place, a well-lighted place. Don't, not just down the street into your phone, because if you're doing that, what are you not doing?
Right.
You're not watching your surroundings, and when you're not watching your surroundings, you look like dinner for the predator. So I always tell the students, don't be dinner. Don't be a hard target. Don't get picked. The best self-defense is not to get picked.
So point number one for our viewers is you want your child to be aware, and what we call that in law enforcement is situational awareness. Aware of what situation that you're in, aware of your surroundings, aware of the possibility of danger. And you're right. So it comes because I see it all the time. I see the kids walking, texting, and and some of them, they might be like, Rutgers has most of their campuses are in big cities, Newark, New Brunswick, Camden. So you have children from the suburbs who, in the suburbs, they can walk around with their head down, because it's not that much automobile traffic. There's not that much danger of assault or robbery or anything like that. But now these children are coming into the big city, and for the parents, you have to inform your children that you have to be alert, just like everyone. I always tell the viewers, Sarge, that the difference between civilians and cops getting accosted or being robbed is that we practice situational awareness all the time. People they used to tell me, your eyes are always roving. You always looking funny. You always, because you see one thing, but I see 10 things.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with children being aware of their surroundings, because there are people out there that even in suburban neighborhoods want to do them harm. So, it's a good thing. So the first thing we talk about is situational awareness, which is what you're talking about, making sure that your child knows and is alert that once they come outside the campus grounds and go out there, they're going to class. My daughter used to go through the city, take a bus to go to her other classes, which, went through New Brunswick. Sometimes she'd walk, sometimes she'd ride a bike. But at that point in time, she was vulnerable. Everybody's vulnerable to some type of hazard at any given time. And so you want to always practice great situational awareness. I'm glad you said that. Let's talk about one thing with situational awareness we talked about is that spidey sense.
Yes.
That spidey sense. You feel something wrong.
Yes.
It is. Don't happen.
Something could be wrong, right?
So everyone now, we're putting our martial arts hats on now. Everyone is equipped with a I like to call an early warning system. We all have it. Right? It's called intuition, right? Intuition. We all have it. The problem is we don't listen to it, right? I might be dating myself with the Flintstones. Remember Kazoo, Fred and Barney, Dum-Dum, right? So, the problem is we don't listen to the things say, don't do it. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do it.
Right.
And then you get in the middle of whatever you're doing. You get in the middle of the dark alley or the empty parking lot. And while we're on that subject, one of the issues that we have to also throw into the mix, guys, is that campuses now with the social distancing are going to be, there's not going to be that many people. There's always be these empty spaces that you have to travel through where would normally be populated,
Right.
So when you have to go for an exam or, a class here and there, they're going to be desolate hallways and things like that. So you have to take that into consideration. But going back to the point, we have to, all of us, we have to listen to our intuition. It's telling us. Mm-hmm. It is right most of the time.
Right.
Intuition, I say, is like the grapevine. It's usually not too far off, right?
Right.
So, that would probably be point number 2.
Right.
Listen
to your intuition, because how many times you said, man, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or I knew I shouldn't have ended up, and us as police officers, we used to, when we made an arrest of a third or fourth individual in the car, they were like, I knew I shouldn't have gotten in the car. I knew something was wrong. Yeah, something was wrong, you know. And that's one of the things that I guess coming up in my household with my father being a police officer was that he told us to rely on that heavily. He said, and it's not because we were worried about getting in trouble. We didn't want to be in trouble with him, because if we got into something and he found out about it, that was worse than any punishment a police officer can do to you. All right. So, you know, that's how we came up. So
my mother was the police. Well, you know my mother. My
mother
was the
same situation.
She was, I mean, we used to call her Captain Moms. You know, she
right? Exactly.
On the job and captain at home, and to this day, I'm still, you know, I walk the line. You know,
that's right. That's right.
I want to get her going.
You're a cop's kid. So now, one of the big things that we all see now is shootings.
Yes, sir.
You know, active shootings, active shooter situations, and you know, we do training. You know, I know you did training. We all did training for active shooter when we were working full time on the job. And like for the parents, let's talk about that active shooter thing. What is it that the school does for the children or with the children in dealing with active shooting? Let's say an active shooter comes on the campus. What was Rutgers' policy as far as active shooter?
Okay. So the policies, you know, the one thing about college campuses is that they all have very, very similar objectives. You know, so it wouldn't be just a Rutgers deal. It's going to be a universal, you know, I guess best practices approach, so to speak. So the first thing that university like Rutgers would do is to get with the local police department and set up local training and bring in the SWAT guys, and you know, make sure that we have all of our ICS protocols in place, you know, in the event that they did have to respond there. You know, then, you know, I was in charge of training. That was one of the hats that I wore, right? So I was getting the police officers trained how to react in an active shooter. In an active shooter situation, as you all know, we run towards the gunfire. Right. You know, police officers go towards the gunfire, and one of the first tips we could share for the students and the parents is, you know, do not in a situation people are scared and they're grabbing and, you know, they're crying, you know, just keep your hands up really still and let the police officers by. Don't reach out and grab. Even if somebody's shot, they're going to work to get that person out of there. But the first objective is to get to the shooter and at least draw the fire, because every time you hear a bang, 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 that's another life. You know? So we want to get to that person. At least if we can draw the fire to us, at least that's not another person, you know, getting shot.
So two things. One, again, situational awareness, right? As a student, in order to survive this thing, it's not just the police are going to come in and going to help us resolve this. Their information, their watching and what's going on is very important information to the police officer. Understand what type of situation. Right, giving a description of what the shooter had on, what direction they were in, and this is one thing that's going to be very touchy to the viewers. When you're responding to an active shooter as a police officer and their child is laying there shot on the ground, you're not going to render aid to that child because you said it. Your main objective.
We are going to render aid, just not initially.
Right.
If I stop to render aid, 3 more people might get shot. That's what I
want to say. Right. You might not render aid to that.
Somebody's coming behind me to do that.
Right. That's in that, but they don't see that. They only see Officer Yelverton, Sergeant Yelverton came in and he walked right by me. That's what's going to come out. But that's for the parents, we want you to know that what happens is the first officers in the building, their objective is to get to the threat. And normally when we have teams, when we practice, we have somebody, like you said, behind us who's either EMT, a paramedic that accompanies the shooting team that goes in. but we want them to understand that it's important that their child understand that they understand that listen, that first officer you see, he might walk over you. He might walk over. He might look at you, but he'll call in. He'll say, listen, somebody's coming behind you, behind me to make sure you're taken care of. But your job as that frontline officer is to get to that threat, because like you said, Sarge, if not, there might be 3, 4, or the guy might circle around, come back and shoot you. You know, you had a leg wound, but now you got a headshot wound or something like that.
Correct. And it might be more than one.
Exactly. It might be more than one. Look at the shooting that the guy, he did the shooting inside, but then he went outside the back where the exit was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's important that, you know, parents understand and children understand in an active shooter situation that the first responding officers, they're going to come in, they're going to respond. They themselves might not render first aid to you, but there will be someone who will come, because the main objective is to get to the shooter.
So
John, also,
go ahead.
No, I just want to say, make sure that, you know, tell the students or the parents to talk to their child about locking down, you know, get somewhere safe, lock that door, do not open it. You know, right. I don't care if your next door neighbor's banging on the door, don't open it. Don't
try to videotape it.
No. Get low, stay away from the window.
Yeah. You know. So what happens, guys, is that universities have community policing officers. They have community policing units. And it's those units' job to go out and they actually give training to the students. So what happens is we may not do that initially, like when they first come in their initial, briefing that they get, you know, as part of joining the university. But as they, take their classes and join groups and different things like that, our community policing people go out and they do these active shooter courses and, at all different type of events that the students have. And so it might be like a breakout session, when they have university day or something, where they could come in and they could, actually go through. And we play, we use the run, hide, fight standard, which is, which is the industry standard. We show the film and, we take their questions and things like that.
Great. So there is some type of training that the students receive in addition to, the officers. I mean, so it's a cohesive unit where there is training that they receive. So that's awesome, because that was one of the things that, one of the complaints when I did active shooter training, when they told me, they said, no, you're not going to stay and render. I said, but the person has a wound that I can tend to. And, they said, no, your job is to stop the guy coming back, because in the scenario, I will admit I did get shot because the guy came double back on me. But the thing was, one of the things that we were teaching the children, listen, like basic first aid, tourniquet, if you suffered a gunshot wound and no one's there, try to apply a tourniquet to where the wound is, to make sure that you don't stop the bleeding. That's the main thing. So that type of education is good. And I think that, as a parent, you owe it to your children to have this discussion, because that's a reality. We understand that in this environment, there are active shooter situations on the job, in churches, on high schools, and college campuses, everywhere. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about off campus. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, we know we got frat houses that's not necessarily on the campus. We know that there are situations where different organizations have parties off campus. And what's some of your experience or advice for students when they go off campus to these type of events?
Okay, I'll take that one. Stay on campus is my first advice. Obviously, they want to go to parties. They want to go out. They want to do things. So I say try to limit it. Let's just cut through the chase. Don't be going to anybody's house. All right. Now, if they have a party on campus in one of the school building facilities, that's cool. If it's an off-campus party that's being held at a local club or establishment, that's cool. If it's a frat house that may be off campus, frat house still have to adhere to different university standards. That's okay as well. But the problem when you go into a private home there's no emergency exit, right? It's
Right.
not. It's probably going to be overcrowded with the whole social distancing going on right now. That wouldn't be a good idea anyway.
Right.
There's going to be all, a private home does not have to adhere to the violation, adhere to the codes that, an established club or a university campus building will. And that's so just, naturally that makes it safer to, just avoid going to house parties. I know we have some horror stories about private house parties that was right off of the campus.
Right. So Rutgers, well, not Rutgers, but New Brunswick just had an incident. There were video got out. There was surveillance video. There were 4 shooters. About 9 individuals that were shot. 2 had deceased. Not necessarily information didn't come out whether or not they were Rutgers students or not. And a lot of times it definitely wasn't associated with Rutgers. But a lot of times students go to house parties or go to parties, off campus. We know that Seton Hall University had a case where young people went down from Seton Hall into the Newark East Orange borderline. There was a house on the Newark East Orange border, and unfortunately, there was some shooting, and some people died. And what we want the parents to do when you tell your children that if they're in any type of event, even if it's, I don't know if frat houses have a policy where they're supposed to check for weapons and whatnot. I don't know if that's part of the policy that's written in on these different colleges, but I know for a fact that a lot of these house parties, that is not taking place. And like you said, the best place to do is to stay on campus. But our children, peer pressure, some of them go out. And again, when you have that intuition, when your child, they have to be alert. They have to always be watching what's going on, because not only is there danger of being shot, but there's also danger. There's alcohol and drugs. Right.
So the thing about the frat house, a good point you bring up, in order to get into the frat house, you got to be what? You got to be frat. Somebody's got to vouch for you in order for you to come in. It's just not a public party. So that's one of the other advantages of, if you're going to do a frat house off campus. Typically, these off campus incidents, they emulate all the same way. Somebody couldn't get in, they come back, shoot the place up.
Right.
But that's typically what happens, So we know that's not going to happen on the college campus. There's a chance, but the chance goes way down, right? Because of the security and cameras and things that, remember, people who have bad intentions, they are watching all of the, a predator doesn't want to work hard, right? They want to do something easy, right? So if they know there's a heavy police presence or heavy video cameras or lighting and things, they're going to be less prone to react, and do something crazy where they could get caught, right?
Right. So the presence is definitely a deterrent. What I would say is what I used to tell young folks, and when they go to these type of events, like my parents told me, when you see stuff getting ready to go down, you don't stick around to see what's going on. It's time to leave. It's time to when things start, they start cursing each other out. There's going to be a fight. It's time to go. And
go.
Party over. Let's go. We bouncing. And it's unfortunate that most of the investigations that I had was people who had nothing to do with the incident, but they got caught out there. Bullets have no names on them when they come out the barrel. So the thing is that we don't want your child to be a casualty of someone's ignorance and stupidity. And but the other thing we talked about, the alcohol consumption, the drugs. That's another thing. So on the campus, I would imagine you have some type of policy, maybe zero tolerance for. Yeah.
So one of the things the parents and the students, especially, make sure the students do read. Like I said, read the manual. Make sure you read your student handbook, because in the handbook is going to have all those policies in there, and it's also going to have your ability to appeal should you get involved in a situation. Campuses have they have tribunals. They have there's the law enforcement component, and then the campus has these tribunals. They try to handle it themselves administratively.
Okay.
Campus police will always punt to the college side. They try to handle a situation to the furthest extent that they can. If it's a blatant criminal act, and someone got injured or something, then the law enforcement have to do what they have to do. But typically, in school infractions, you try to punt that over to the tribunal. So it's important to read the student manual and have an understanding of that. As far as alcohol, that actually made I have a list for later on. We'll get into it. Sarge's 10 quickest ways to get thrown off campus. So alcohol, is probably one of them. Right off the top, if you're not 21, do not be walking around drinking alcohol, because they're going to be plainclothes officers, uniformed officers out there looking for you. If they catch you, they're going to write you a summons for underage drinking. All right. You're going to be in front of the tribunal trying to explain that. All right. So, that's right. In drugs, that goes without saying. One of the issues we see is the mixture. It's the alcohol, the Red Bull, and the pills. I don't know how high they're trying to go. But you see these crazy mixtures, and when we work the football game, we'll watch a student walk all the way from Franklin Township to the stadium and get to the gate and pass out, right? Because they wow. And then you ask their friend, "Hey, what happened? What happened to them?" He only had one drink. So then my next question is, one drink of what?
Right.
Exactly. In that cup. And then what happens is we cart the person off to the hospital, make sure they're okay, life-saving measures, things like that. So I say this to students when I'm doing the orientation. Be very careful about that use of the word friend, because friends don't allow you to do illegal activities, and they don't put you in predicaments, especially when it's just you bearing all the responsibility. So be, oh, that's my friend. That's my friend. We have people pass out on the ground, and the friend says, "Oh, it's all right. She's okay. I'll take her back to the room. She doesn't need to go to the hospital, but she's unconscious on the ground. How are you going to get her back?" You know? So another thing while we're on the discussion with that, if someone's participating in drug use, right? It's okay to call the police and call 911. We're not going to come in and lock you up. They passed a law, the name of it escapes me, but you're okay, because it's a life-saving measure. We can get there, we can hit them with the Narcan or something until the paramedics get there. We don't, we've seen in the past where someone may be indulging and then they pass out, and then the students get scared and leave them there. And then what happens next to that. So it's always okay to call the police. Just call 911, the campus police or whatever. It's always okay to call. We're gonna kick whatever you've been using aside, and we're gonna get to that person and worry about life saving. We'll deal with the administrative stuff another time.
So let me stop you there for a second, because let's say like in a situation where underage drinking on campus, is there the police will write a ticket or go to the tribunal. Mm-hmm. Is that is it different than if they were off campus? The repercussions,
the ordinance, or
yeah.
So the underage drinking tickets are typically unique to the university.
Okay.
And, they get and that person, they'll either get escorted off campus, or they'll definitely have to face the music with the administration of the university. Why are you underage and why are you drinking? Now, the off-campus implications that drinking can have if you're underage drinking is in the state of New Jersey. The BAC for a person under 21 operating a car is 0.00. So if you're a 0.1, you would be arrested for DWI.
So that's good to know for the viewers, because there is a difference. Because we don't want, a lot of times we used to get flagged as when I was on patrol, and a lot of the actions we would take, it would hurt the student. I mean, these are children. We have to remember they are children. They're doing something new, and I don't think that children are going to be children. They're going to do things. Now, listen, I was bringing alcohol to high school, so by the grace of God, I didn't get caught. But children do things, and I don't think that it's right. So I'm glad that that's something that came out, and especially with the drug use, because most of the time, poor young people have lost their lives because their friends have panicked and, as you said, have left them there to die because they didn't know what to do. They didn't know. So now, for the parents and the students, they can call 911. The police respond, and there's no repercussions against them for the situation. I guess the situation of saving the life trumps the fact that the cop is there to make an arrest, because you know how it used to be. Everybody gonna get locked up,
Right. And people wouldn't call because they dumped that. There's a Samaritan law out now. Just if you don't call the police, call somebody. Just call. Don't just leave the person there unconscious. Just call anybody and have them call the police if you don't want to call. But
that's good. So let's hear some more of this 10 things to get kicked off campus, because I should be kicked off campus right at the beginning. Number one.
All right. Number one, parking. All right. Yeah, parking. What do you mean parking? And these are tips that I give that, not necessarily get you thrown out of off campus, but, get you, that could get you into some trouble. You can have parking tickets and not graduate. They won't give you your degree, Just like cities, universities make money off of their parking. So you don't pay them tickets. So you think you just balling out. I don't care about that. They ain't a real ticket. They ain't a Newark ticket. I don't care. When it's time to graduate, you got 3,000 in tickets that you racked up. All right. Then, they'll be like holding on to your degree. But even more what we see happening, there are different type of campuses. There are closed campuses, and then there are land grant campuses that are open, that are within the city, So if there's a business near your campus and you're like running late, so you're just going to leave your car in the path mark over there, it's not going to be there when you get back. And it's usually like a $300 day. All right. I talk to people about that. Watch the signs. In a city that I shall not name, sometimes the street cleaning doesn't start till 11 a.m. You got an 8 o'clock class when you good at 8, but at 11 your car is going to get towed, right? So you gotta make sure you read the signs. Parking in teacher spaces. Sometimes the lanes are marked different. They're different colors or they're signs up. Not a good look to park in your professor's space, right? So contiguous street parking, again, with the street cleaning, be careful with that. And also, the last thing I'll say, be careful when you think the parking guides have opened up a whole street or a whole area. Now, you got a crowded school, everybody's at school, but nobody's parked in this area. You just say, well, they must have left this for me. And then you just kind of park there. And then you come back and you find that, you have a problem. You know what I mean? So, hope that helped. We talked about underage drinking already, so we don't need to beat that up anymore. Smoking anything in the dorms or in campus buildings. Campuses are typically smoke-free. All right. If you decide that you're gonna light up something, whatever it is in the dorm, the RA, is gonna call the police. They're gonna come to the dorm. We don't go in the room. They go in the room. We're just there to make sure that they don't, get any harm. And if they find that you're violating the policies of the school, you're going to get launched out. All right. distribution or selling of anything on campus. You know, and I'm not talking about the guy on the third floor that can hook you up with a quick shape up. You know, I'm talking about people, you know, they're selling college T-shirts, making their own T-shirts, the entrepreneurial spirit, and selling them and things like that. You can't, you know, do stuff like that on the college campus. The campus already has everything that the students need. They don't need you to come in and help them out. All right. Committing any crime, that's obvious. In my orientations, I tell students, look at the person next to you. So they look. That might be the person that steals your stuff. All right. And they all looking and laugh. But yeah, I'm dead serious. You know, I don't know if anybody had to buy a college book recently, but you know, with books at upwards of $400 for a book, and of course you got to get the latest edition, even though it's got the same thing the last edition had in it. Right? You know what I'm saying? So you know, books are very, very expensive. If you leave your stuff around, somebody may swipe it. So make sure you secure your gear. But any crime on campus, you're gone. Big crime, small crime, whether you steal $1 or 5,000, you're out. All right. Fighting, threatening, bullying, disrespecting people. You know, you're gonna keep it real with your professor. You're gonna show him you're gonna get that A. You're gonna give me an A, right? That's another way to get tossed out. All right. Even the online, the Twitter fingers, phone gangster stuff they got. You threatening, you making threats online like that. You're out. Bringing any weapon on campus. You know, leave your weapons and your intended weapons or constructive weapons. Leave them home. All right. No weapons or anything like that are allowed on the campus. Okay.
Is pepper spray considered weapon?
So, and I'm glad you asked that. So what happens is now we get into the intention. What was the intention? So if you have they make the little pepper spray with the girls screaming
like this.
I always tell people I suggest that they don't use that, because we all know that sometimes bad guys and girls, they have the best luck in the world. As soon as you spray it, the wind will blow it into your eyes, right? But if the person's diet consists of meth and CNC cola, and you spray that stuff there, it might taste like seasoning to them. They might make you think with the hot sauce. So people have different reactions to that. I don't want people depending on this thing that's going to save them. I'd rather them think through the situation, listen at their intuition beforehand, and instead of getting in the middle of something. Because if you give a person a weapon, they take chances, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want them taking chances, right? So, use your intuition. So we say no. But if somebody has it and they deploy it and the intention was to, save themselves, we could deal with that. You know what I mean? Misuse of school information systems. That's a big one. You decide you want to send out your bots or looking at porn, or you want to hack into some stuff, they're gonna find you. You're gonna go. Sexual misconduct on campus of any kind, you will be dismissed. All right. And the other, last but not least, is the academic non-performance. You're living on campus, but you don't go to class. You're having the time of your life. Universities typically don't grow vegetables inside the dormitories. Right. They have different forms and things for that. So they're gonna bounce you out of there.
Wow. So let's go back. One thing that's big on college campuses, but it's really kept quiet, is the sexual harassment and date rape. Can you talk to our viewers, especially those of us who are our children are going for the first time, what to be aware of, and some of the cases, maybe not under the cases, but the experiences that you had in these type of situations.
Awesome. Yeah. First things first, when you're considering what college you're going to send your child to or attend yourself, you want to look at this thing called the Cleary report.
Okay.
The Cleary report. The Cleary report is a reporting responsibility of all the institutions. They have to. There's certain crimes that they have to report, and sexual assault is one of them. All right. So any type of assault or sexual assault is one of them, and you want to kind of look at the numbers. So every university is required by federal law on their website somewhere there'll be a annual crime report, and you pull down the annual crime statistics and look at them for the last 3 years. Is the trend going up? Is the trend going down? And that's how that kind of helps you make your decision. But look at all of the crimes. Look at the thefts. Look at the assaults. All right. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, intuition. We always say there is no free lunch. If somebody quid pro quo, right? It's something for something. So if somebody's extra nice and doing something, and that's my friend. If we go with that use of that word friend again, that's my friend. Situational awareness. You need to be aware of, why am I here? What am I doing? And like we always think as police officers, what is my way out? Right. Typically, something as simple as, gentlemen always hold the door of the elevator for a lady, right? Well, you may say, now we're getting into our common sense self-defense lesson that I learned, from my Shihan, Grandmaster Al Sims, right? So now we're getting into common sense self-defense, right? A gentleman always holds the door for a lady, doesn't he? Well, what if you just said, no, you go ahead in first. No, I insist. No, you go in first. Well, tell you what, if you feel bad about the situation, you don't want to go in first, come up with something else to do. You know what? I think I left something. I'll be right back. And don't go in the elevator. Don't go in the room. Things like that. Intuition. These things are unfortunate, and it's net. We don't want to come off like it's the victim's fault. Nobody gets up and say, today I'm going to go out and have the worst thing happen to me in my life. That doesn't happen. But people take advantage of your niceness. They take advantage of humanistic behavior, right? They say the success of the predator is rooted in the predictability of the prey, right?
Right.
There's a book that I always suggest that talks about that, and it's called The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. That's a must give for everyone going, anybody that's interested in self-defense, they should read that book, because with that book, basically it talks about the intuition and how we ignore it. And it talks about how people use basic human manners against you. The things that we expected to do. Oh, I'm going to hold the door for you. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to close the door behind you and do something crazy.
Right.
So those things, we could go hours and hours and do a whole class on, personal defense and how to get out of that. And, maybe something we could arrange,
Right. I want to take a question from Caroline Clark, Captain Clark. Caroline Clark is retired Newark PD. Wonderful person. She said, are you immediately expelled, or is there an investigation completed prior to the alleged perpetrator being expelled? So is it something that's an immediate investigation?
The sexual offenses?
Yeah, she didn't
specify.
Yeah, she didn't specify, but I think we were talking about the sexual because that happens sometimes,
Absolutely.
People are not really they're charged with a crime that they didn't commit, so, and it's kind of flaky. Is there an investigation that goes on?
Depends on the severity of the offense. Again, is it a complaint that's of the sexual harassment administrative nature, or did the person cross the line and put their hands on the person that is now sexual contact? That person is going to jail. So that so it's a difference. If it's some type of if it's a violation that is someone that's just harassing someone or sending emails or something like that, the school would typically deal with that and investigate it and try to mitigate it however they see fit. If it's a criminal offense, if the person crosses the line and he goes hands-on in any kind of way, that student is going to probably leave in handcuffs. We're not going to investigate that and wait if the person is making that allegation.
Right. And this is a new experience for young people. It's a lot of times their first time interacting with folks. I mean, sometimes they're developing themselves. I've seen my daughters develop as young women when they went to college, and the same thing goes with young men. So a lot of times when they're out there partying and drinking and feelings arise, it's very easy to get yourself in a situation where it's a sexual assault complaint or allegation. And we've seen that happen on college campuses a lot, especially with athletes. And, it's unfounded later on, but the damage is done. So for our young men, our young brothers, listen, man, be careful, be careful what you're doing. Young sisters, be careful what you get yourself into, because these are things that are very important and will affect you later on, can mess up your whole opportunity that's before you. And we don't want that to happen. But I think that it starts with the parents being aware that these things happen. Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this, Sarge. So we've had, throughout our careers, we've seen situations, problems on college campuses. How does that work with local authorities and, say, the college police? Let's say an infraction happens outside in New Brunswick. They were at a party, some type of infraction happens. They come back on campus. How does that interaction play out between the two agencies? Because I mean, my kid is an allegation that has nothing to do with the school, but it's an allegation that was made against my child at some place they were at in the city or in the surrounding area, and then all of a sudden now they want to show up at the college campus. Does a college have a responsibility to notify the parents that their child is being arrested or being escorted off campus?
Absolutely. Anytime there's an issue with a student, whether it's a medical issue or a legal issue, we will typically definitely reach out and let the parent know, because they could be looking for the child.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get calls. One of the common calls you'll get as a campus police officer: I've been trying to call my child for 3 days and I can't find him, and he won't call me back, and blah, blah, blah. And then we got to go out and find the person. Your mother's on the phone, about calling home. Sometimes they're too busy. But if something happens, so campuses are very specific, right? And there's the primary campus, and then they have what's called contiguous streets, the street that is directly adjacent to the campus. That's what the campus law enforcement admin is responsible for. Anything outside of that contiguous street area now becomes an issue with the local jurisdiction. Now, what the campus may do is have a detective as a representative kind of get some notes on the case or whatever to forward a report, back to the administrators as needed, especially if it's something high profile. They may send a detective out just to kind of be eyes on and what's going on, because the university name is involved. But anything outside of that, if it's it's just like being out anywhere else, and that's one of the hardest things to try to explain when the child is making a transition into adulthood. It's real now. This is not the 13th grade. This is real. Going back to the sexual assault piece, we drill into the young men and women. No means no. Right. No means no. Just like if you can give somebody permission to search whatever, you can take the permission away, right? Same thing, sexual. No means no. Once no means no. If somebody say no and stop, you have to stop.
Okay. Because Newark had a unique situation, and unfortunately, it ended up in a Rutgers student being killed. Down Central Avenue, there was a house. It wasn't a frat house. It was just a house that young people were. The student he was from the Edison area, I believe, or one of those areas. He came up to the city, got hooked up in drugs. I guess he was watching TV or something, and he thought, this is how it's going to go down. But he got introduced to Newark City life like real quick because these guys came back. And what it was, my issue with it was that when he was in a house that was being rented by students, there was an incident, and it seemed like it was a problem communicating to the parent, or the parent was in denial from both agencies, from Rutgers and Newark. So, of course, the person moved out of the Rutgers facility that they were renting, and moved down to this apartment on Central Avenue. But I feel that the agencies didn't do enough with the parents to stress to the parents that, listen, your kid has come, the kid that's in college has now come here and is taking on a different lifestyle that you need to be aware of, because it's going to be detrimental to his survival and to his life. And unfortunately, the parents didn't listen, and this child lost his life. So have you had many situations where like there wasn't a connection, or there was friction between two agencies and something?
John, that's part of the grieving process. The denial, right? The anger, then the content, right? So that young man violated, I think, Rule 4 of Sarge's 10 quick ways to get thrown off the campus, trying to get into the distribution game. And like you said, he found out what it is. When a parent doesn't know, they just don't know. We've all been in situations, right, where whether the child is in a stolen car or something, and the parent comes in and they just can't believe it. It's just not my child. I mean, I've heard it 1,000 times. My child doesn't steal cars. He picked up a new habit. Something different happened today. Maybe he typically doesn't, but it's not a one size fit all answer. I think everybody does their best to try to mitigate the problem before it becomes a problem. But what happens is you get people that come down sometimes and they don't understand necessarily how the game works.
Right.
And try to get involved in the game. We see it over and over and over and over. They don't understand how it works, and then they wind up becoming a victim of the game.
So what we want to say to the viewers is, listen, viewers, when you have a child in college and you hear these things and it's unusual behavior that you're not accustomed to, or you never heard or experienced before with your child, understand there's a possibility that now the child is developing into a young adult, and as the sergeant said, he picked up some habits, and you need to address it. You need to pay attention, because unfortunately, in this situation, I mean, most of the educators and police officers on campus are there for the students. They're there for that's what I found, and they're concerned, and their well-being is the number one priority, as opposed to the cops who are not part of the institution. That's just how, every cop has a culture. Every department has a culture.
Right.
And the campus officer is there to enforce the laws, but also understands the importance of not having that hardcore lock you up, type of mentality that, you might get with a local police department. So please understand that if your child, if there's a complaint from campus police or administration that your child is involved in this, that, it's a possibility that something's going on and you need to address it and work with the administration and the police department to correct it and make sure it doesn't happen. So
basically, I would say, communicate with your student, your child.
Right.
That's the key, communication.
Yeah.
Not that you're being overbearing parent, but text me if you're going out, party or whatever, so that they'll know you're not, spying on them, but just communicate with them.
Yeah.
That's the key, especially if something happens.
Yeah.
If an argument happens in this party, leave. That's
right.
basically, use common sense. So
you got a new girlfriend, new boyfriend, whatever, snap a picture of that license plate. Let somebody
give
know.
a name. Exactly.
Use your smartphone to do smart things.
That's
You
right.
tag yourself somewhere or something where people can see you, but where they know where you are.
Yeah, because the child is becoming a young adult. This is part of their development, But communication now is different when they were in high school because they're becoming a young adult. They're learning new things. They're being challenged. They're being pushed, and there's a lot of pressure going to college. So the thing is that it's a different type of relationship as a parent of a college student than a parent of a high school student. So, let's make sure we keep those lines of communication open because, like I said, my daughters, man, they weren't little. I was affectionate with
like
my
Lafayette Hamlet. You keep the tracker on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Make the tracker.
Yeah.
And one other thing,
That's right.
If you're walking into a crowd or people that you look, your spidey senses go up. Hey, yeah, I'm right here. Where are you? I don't see you. Do you see me? I have on such and such. You could be talking to no one, but they don't know it.
Right.
You use common sense.
Yeah.
You're walking past a large window, use that as a mirror.
Right. With that, drop a jewel. Let's say the four of us, right? The five of us, we're in a room where we're studying, and somebody comes in and they probably need police attention. But you don't want to say to the person, I'm going to call the police, because what does that do? That alert them.
Right.
Right.
So, so instead of calling you John, I might say, hey, Billy,
Right.
did you see the game the other day when the Giants lost to it? So why are you calling me Billy?
Right.
It's something as simple as calling somebody out of their name says to somebody needs to text the police or whatever. And that's, and to that point, make sure you have the campus police phone number. Because it's different. You can always dial 911, but it's going to put about another 30 seconds on whatever you have going on. You have the campus police direct number. You have the campus police social media information. Make sure you have the campus police text. Like text RUPD or whatever it is. All of those things. Make sure you have every way that you can get in contact. Right? Know where the police station is. Get a campus map. Learn what stuff is. When you get on campus and you're running around for the first time with your schedule, try to make a dry run of your schedule. One of the things predators look for is people who are lost. You're looking around, you wondering, this Bourbon Street, where am I at? And that to a predator, and this doesn't matter whether you're at school or wherever you are, to a predator, somebody that looks lost, oh, that's easy pickings. I can hit them and they don't even know where they at.
That's right.
Even if you are lost, you got to be like me when I'm in New York. Even if you have no idea where you're going, I want you to be confident in lost. All right?
Right.
Make you be confident about it.
Look up at the street signs, know where you are.
That's right.
Or map out where you're going first.
Correct.
And have those numbers on speed dial.
That's right.
I tell the students that, in the school now, something will happen. I say, what street were you on? I don't know. I was on my way to school. When you walk into school in the morning, look at the street signs. Look at, landmarks. Know where you are.
Right.
So that's, landmarks are important. Yeah. If you don't know the street, look, I see the Piggly Wiggly in front of me. I don't know. Wherever you at. Right. That's landmarks.
Well, listen, we ran out of time. Our time is up, but this is definitely a conversation that must continue.
Yes.
We're going to have to bring you back because there were some things we wanted to get to in regards to the winter, fall and winter initiatives that police departments put out there as far as how they roll out their plan and how they're going to keep the community safe. Because we all know that when you have coach, that's concealment, and you have to be careful. There is a lot of information out there, some videos, some still shots we want to talk about that the children should know, and you want the parents to see it because and explain it to their children because it might happen to their child. A lot of times I know children go out to, college students go out, they go shopping, food shopping, they go clothes shopping, they go to the malls, they go to these different places. There's a lot of things that we need to make sure that we get the information to them to be careful because like you said, they've been in the house, they've been in the cradle for so long. They've been in the nest. This is like the
Mhm.
first step that they're out of the nest, you know. And when they come home from college, more likely they're going to move somewhere else or go on and live their life as a young adult. So we need to prepare them and give them as much information as possible so that they can survive out there. Because as we said earlier, evils lurks everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are, crime will find you. You could be minding your business, crime will find you. And our college campuses, we have a lot of predators around this time, especially around this time, going back to school. You know, I know it's a COVID situation, but still, some schools have opened up. They have students there, and listen, they can become victims. And our job is to try to give you information so that you don't become victims. So I hope to have you back next week, Sarge. You know, we very informative. And like I said, I think next week, the discussion next week, we want to get into it a little bit more. What to do to keep yourself safe during the upcoming holiday seasons. So I hope to see you then. So to our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Listen, I'm John Arnold, Steffi Treadwell, Anthony Cox. You know, we want to thank you for coming in on. Sergeant Yelverton was excellent tonight. We hope to see you next week, same time, Wednesday, 6 o'clock here on Protect and Serve. Have a good night. Be safe until we see each other again. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Move.
It was good.
Wait, we still on. Don't forget to vote, people.
We still on?
Yeah, and have your questions ready next week.
We still live?
Yeah. You're welcome, Karen. I mean, good Karen.